My name is Adam. I'm the host of a podcast, The Future of People Initiatives. About 3 months ago, we made a discovery that's leading us into an emerging market. More and more innovators are asking, how do we consumerize the employee experience? Now, they may not use the words consumerize. They're talking more and more about the reorientation of their communication, of the messages around the humans, not the organization. In many ways, we've done this externally, right? Brand meeting them where they are, meeting their customers by making communication and messaging personal and relevant. Now, two schools of thoughts are emerging about how would we do this, right? One, where the CMO is taking on more and more responsibilities around the message, right? Not owning the relationship, that would be with HR, but taking on the message. Others, including Esther, brilliant, is asking the question of how should marketing be an enabler of HR? How does she become a strategic partner? How do they take what works on the marketing side and help HR evolve? 7 months, a couple hundred conversations. I think we've published 50 episodes, and there have been, I'd say 5 or 6 that have been super transformational. And I think all have played a huge role in our journey. And I want to talk about Jennifer's real quick. And I'll drop in the link below for you all to check it out. I think it's worth it. You know how you can hear something so many times in your life and then you hear it again? The context has changed, and it's kind of like you're hearing it for the very first time. I had this moment happen when I spoke to Jennifer. And by the way, Jennifer was one of the most impactful guests on the podcast so far. I think there's been 6 or 7 episodes that absolutely define the journey, although every single episode has been super meaningful in their own way. All of them are with innovators that are rock stars that are going to bring this emerging market forward. So she spoke for a bit, and we reflected on her role within Ritz-Carlton's Leadership Institute. And then she said a few things, and I repeated, and she corrected me. She said, no, Adam, I mean this very specifically. Ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen. And it's almost like I've heard that for the very first time in my life. And I'm sitting here just kind of looking through our conversation. I want to highlight a few things, although every word that Jennifer said was brilliant. Check out this clip, what she talks about ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen.
But I brought up the line, ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen, because it is the credo at the Ritz-Carlton. And what that means is that we treated our employees as ladies and gentlemen, and that in turn is how they treated the guest. So if you respect your employees, they in turn will turn around and respect the guests.
When you think about that, ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen, I almost think like that is the perfect approach to thinking about customer experience and employee experience. People on both sides, humans on both sides, their experiences matter, and their experiences define each other. In other words, the employee experience within your organization and your brand is going to now define the customer experience. This is where we double click with Jennifer. Check out this clip as she starts to talk about the psychographic profile of a guest.
So when you understand the psychographic profile of a Ritz-Carlton guest wants to be recognized, right? They worked hard their whole life to be able to get to stay at a Ritz-Carlton. And so when they arrive, they want to be recognized. And so one of the things that we actually taught was that when a cab pulls up or a limo pulls up, the bellman walks out, touches the trunk. The trunk is opened, he pulls out the bag. First thing he does is he looks at the luggage tag, and he sees that it's Miss Deutsch from Cleveland, Ohio. And so then he opens up the door, and what he says is, Miss Deutsch, welcome to the Ritz-Carlton in Atlanta. Hope your trip from Cleveland was great. My reaction is, that's unbelievable. How did he know that I came from Cleveland? And how did he know what my name was? Meanwhile, he has an earpiece and he's communicating to the front desk that Jennifer Deutsch just arrived from Cleveland, Ohio. She's going to be checking in a moment. He takes my bag, glides me to the front desk, and the front desk clerk says, welcome, Miss Deutsch, to the Ritz-Carlton Atlanta. How was your trip in from Cleveland? And she's already got everything pulled up. And all of a sudden, I feel recognized. I feel at home. And I feel like, wow, they really have their act together. That's CX, that's the customer experience. But guess what? That's EX as well. Because how good does that bellman feel when I look at him and say, oh my God, Walter, you're amazing. Thank you for that warm welcome. And then Walter takes me and introduces me to Amanda at the front desk. And I say, Amanda, thank you for that warm welcome. That was incredible. That was teamwork. The bellman working with the front desk clerk to make the introduction.
All right, so now we see two different groups emerge of how they think about where this emerging market is headed. Now, we are talking about bringing marketing toward internal audiences. And I think they're not mutually exclusive. This could work just depending on the organization. Not one fits every scenario. In first case, the CMOs are going to become partners, enablers. Check out Esther's episode as she discusses what is the way in which marketing can now become an enabler of HR. In another case, Jennifer as well as Bennett from last week, Vision Solar, they are the CMOs that are now stepping in, right? I've been looking at the difference between, sales and marketing, right? Sales owns the relationship, but marketing owns the message. So if, as the CMO, get more involved with the employee experience, I wonder if we could apply kind of the same lens and say, hey, where's the line between HR and marketing? Well, HR owns the relationship, but marketing owns the message. In fact, it unifies both messages and unifies the brand. So check out the way this Jennifer answers the challenge. I don't think the folks that are listening, they are the innovators, but I'd like them to be prepared for someone who says the following to them. The CMO already has too much on their plate externally. They're focused on revenue and growth. They don't have the time to get involved with the employee experience outside. We're not talking hospitality. Let's put ourselves into, any other industry. How would you respond?
Well, I think it's very short-sighted because the reality is that every brand should also have an internal brand and an employer brand. And the employer brand is for the employees, but it's a reflection of the external brand. So it should be consistent, and it honestly should be, it should ensure that the employee has the experience that the customers have. Because as I said earlier, every employee is a brand ambassador. So they need to be warmly welcomed to the organization. They need to understand what the organization does, which means that they need to be onboarded correctly. I would even go so far as to say that I think the recruiting process is part of the EX. So when the recruiter reaches out, they should be explaining the employer brand. Because you're selling. Why should you join this company? Why should you join my company? So at Park Place Technologies, where I'm the Chief Marketing Officer today, we talk to recruiters on explaining the benefits of joining our company. Not only the benefits, the financial benefits, but the benefits to do well, to perform well, that we're going to give you the tools, and we're going to give you the tools so that you can have a successful career. But this isn't just a one-stop for a job, that we're going to career path you so that you can grow within this organization and achieve your objectives and be the best that you can be. And then someone may say, and so give me an example. So I'll tell you that in the recruiting process, I've spoken to our recruiters and shared with them that they need to share with all sales people applying for a job the marketing tech stack that we implement. Because that marketing tech stack is going to be used to help generate leads for salespeople, which means that they're going to be more successful, they're going to sell more, and they're going to make more money. So if we don't tell them, we don't know if they're going to ask. And I meet with every single sales class that we bring in, and I say, how many of you asked what the marketing tech stack was when you applied? Never does anybody raise their hand. And I said, now, do you understand that that should be a question moving forward for any job, any sales position you apply for? Because we have technology that can help support salespeople really be extremely successful and enable them to achieve beyond their wildest dreams.
So I hope you found that insightful. Right, but now the question becomes, if the CMO is the owner of the message, and that takes us into a whole other spectrum when we think about the message externally. We're thinking about channels, we're thinking about timing, we're thinking about length, we're thinking about motivation, we're thinking about meeting them where they are. I mean, we're now opening up all of how we approach sending the right message at the right time externally to how do we do that internally by the same folks that are on the journey of figuring that out externally. But now that we're here with the message, well, then what parts of the organization would the CMO partner with and touch and be involved with? Here's Jennifer's take on which departments.
I think the role of the CMO cuts across almost every department. And I can tell you that we literally do support every department from M&A to HR, etc. So even from an M&A perspective, we create materials so that when the M&A team goes out to identify companies to buy, it's not a slam dunk that someone wants to sell to us.
So now that you see that, right, and we're touching all of the departments, we are pursuing one message. We're pursuing consistency, right? Jennifer said consistency is imperative. Listen to this.
So from a marketing perspective, consistency is imperative. Our website, everything from our website to our portal, our customer portal, our employee portal, all of that has the same look, the same feel. We have brand guidelines, we have language guides. So we're saying the same thing, often using the same words, so that people understand the message and they clearly can communicate what we do, who we are, and what the benefits are.
So what about internal communications? And there's going to be a lot of discussion in the emerging market around what are the different aspects of the internal communication. But let's start with something like super foundational, right? How do you share news internally? How do you recognize those within your organization? And what I see, especially with Bennett and Jennifer, is that they really run the internal publication, and they call it a publication. In Jennifer's case, you're about to hear when she talks about Wired. It is a publication in many ways run similarly to how you would run an external publication. You're fighting for attention. You need to entertain. Check this out.
In our case, marketing built the whole thing. Marketing built the whole thing. We ran it past HR, but we have experience in building portals and building websites and wireframing, etc. So, and that's not something that the HR leaders had. I mean, what we share on Wired, a portion of it honestly is HR related, but our publication, Wired, is really a combination of People Magazine, The Wall Street Journal, and Vanity Fair, right? And we also share videos, we share customer comments, we share feedback.
All right, so we touched on the internal communications. What about learning and development? What is the relationship between marketing and L&D? Check this out by Jennifer.
I can tell you that our learning and development program was named and branded by the marketing team. That every single program that's put out is in a template that we put together so that there's consistency from a branding perspective. We are not creating all of the content. We're probably only creating some of the content, but we've had our fingerprints on all of it.
So if the CMO is going to own the message, and the message will touch every department, right, from L&D to internal publications, and in some cases, the message is the entire platform, such as Wired, that Jennifer described, what would be the relationship between the CMO and the CHRO in the organization where the CMO is taking on the internal message? Check out Jennifer's response on the relationship between the CMO and the CHRO. If this is a new industry emerging, who do we go after as our innovators? How do you think we can catalyze this industry? What would be our path forward? And I know it's a big question. You and I haven't discussed this. It's something I'm contemplating every night now.
Right. So I think a lot of it will have to do with your existing relationships. So what is your relationship like with your CHRO? You're both on a leadership team. Do you go to him or her and say, I've been thinking about this. This is the future. This is the cutting edge. Let's partner on it. Or do you skip over the CHRO because they think you're going to abscond with some of their authority, their budget, etc. For me, I would go to the CHRO and share this and say, look, this is emerging. This is where I think it's going to be going. I think there's way more we can do. And quite frankly, the skill set resides in marketing, but let's do this together. That EX should be owned as a line item. It should be owned in marketing, and there should be a line item on the budget to fund EX.
So now I know So some of the innovators that are listening to this are on the customer experience side, such as the CMO, and some of you are on the employee experience side, CHROs, learning and development, change management, people analytics, perhaps even operations. I think this unifies the perspective of every innovator I've talked to. Internal silos must be broken, right? Partnerships must be built, right? So the one thing that we all agree on, whether it's customer experience or employee experience led, that a partnership internally between the messages that are sent outside the organization and inside the organization should unify to create a single brand. I hope you guys loved the episode as much as I did. You see me referencing the notes. There's so much brilliance that Jennifer delivered. Check out the link below and let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed the segment. Esther nailed how marketing can become an enabler for HR, and this is just a starting point, right? If you're one of the innovators who agree with us, this emerging market is coming to bridge customer experience and employee experience, to reorient the communication and messages around the individual, not the organization, to consumerize the employee experience, well, then you understand early days, we need to keep going. Join us by subscribing to Instagram, YouTube, and I'd love to hear what you thought about this episode and what you want to learn going forward. Thanks for tuning in.